Okay lang?
Okay lang ako.
Republic Act number 8187. The paternity leave. Paternity leave. Paternity leave refers to the benefits granted to a married male employee. Married male employee, allowing him not to report for work for 7 days, but continues to earn the compensation therefore order of, on the condition that his spouse has delivered a child or suffered a miscarriage, for enabling him to effectively lend support to his wife in her period of recovery and or in the nursing of the newly born child. Please take note that the law use married male employee. That is the difference between the paternity and the maternity leave. Kasi in maternity leave, the woman that will take a leave from her job need not be married, maski buntis siya na dalaga. Being pregnant and single lady is entitled to a maternity leave, unlike sa paternity leave, unlike to a paternity leave that the male who applied for paternity leave must be married to his spouse. That is the bias under the law. Makababae ang social legislation. Maganda yung binibigay na batas sa mga kababaihan, samantalang dito sa mga kalalakihan, you should be married before you can avail of paternity leave. The purpose of paternity leave is that the benefits is to allow the husband to lend support to his wife during the period of recovery and or nursing of the newly born child. The coverage of paternity leave is granted to male employees in both public and the private sector. That every married male employee in the private sector shall be entitled to paternity leave benefits for the first 4 deliveries by his lawful spouse under such terms and condition. So sinasabi under paternity leave or Republic Act number 8187 that the male employee is entitled to paternity leave up to 4 deliveries of his spouse. In government employees they are also entitled to paternity leave benefits. They shall be governed by the civil service rules and regulation, being a government employee. The paternity leave shall be for 7 days with full pay available only for the first 4 deliveries of the legitimate spouse with whom he is cohabiting. Please take note that full pay consists of basic salary and mandatory allowances fixed by the regional wage board, if any. What are the conditions? What are the conditions for entitlement of the paternity leave? The married male employee shall be entitled to paternity leave benefit provided that he has met the following conditions: that he is an employee at the time of delivery of his child, he is employed, he is cohabiting with his spouse at the time she gives birth or suffers a miscarriage, he has applied for paternity leave with his employer, and his wife has given birth or suffered a miscarriage. Please take note also that cohabiting for the purpose of Republic Act number 8187, cohabiting means the obligation of the husband and wife to live together. If the spouses are not physically living together because of the workstation or occupation, the male employee is still entitled to the paternity leave benefit. The term spouse refers to the lawful wife, which means the woman who is legally married to the male employee concerned. For the application for paternity leave, the married male employee shall apply for paternity leave with his employer within a reasonable period of time from the expected date of delivery by the pregnant spouse, or within such period as may be provided by company rules and regulations or by collective bargaining agreements, provided that prior application for leave shall not be required in case of miscarriage. Paternity leave benefits shall be granted to the qualified employee after the delivery by his wife without prejudice to an employer, allowing an employee to avail of the benefit before or during the delivery, provided that the total number of days shall not exceed 7 days for each delivery. And paternity leave of 7 days is not convertible to cash. Benefits not availed of shall not be converted to cash and shall not be cumulative. Crediting of existing benefits where the male employee is already enjoying the paternity leave benefits by reason of contract, company policy, or collective bargaining agreement. The rules shall apply. These rules shall apply. If the existing paternity leave benefits is greater than the benefit herein provided in RA 8272 or 8187, in RA 8187. If the existing paternity leave benefits is greater than provided under Public Act 8187, the greater benefit shall prevail. And if the existing paternity leave is less than that provided in Republic Act 8187, such existing benefit shall be adjusted to the extent of the difference. However, where a contract, company policy, or a collective bargaining agreement provides for an emergency or contingency leave without specific provisions of paternity, the paternity leave as herein provided shall apply in full. For the penal provision of the Republic Act 8187, any person, corporation, trust, firm, partnership, entity, associations found violating any provisions of the rule under Article 81 under RA 8187 shall be penalized by a fine not exceeding to 25,000 pesos or imprisonment of not less than 30 days nor more than 6 months. If the violations is committed by a corporation, trust, firm, partnership, association, or any other entity, the penalty of imprisonment shall be imposed on the entity's accountable officers. So that is the paternity leave accorded to male employees either in the private sectors or in the government service under Republic Act 8187. So the salient features of Republic Act 8187 is that the male employee should be married to the female or to his spouse, should be legally cohabiting to his spouse, and avail of a paternity leave because his spouse delivers a child or suffered miscarriage of their child. Unlike in a maternity leave, that a woman, notwithstanding the civil status of the female employee, she may still opt to file a maternity leave despite the fact that she is not married during her pregnancy or delivery of her child. So that is our Republic Act 8187. Now let's proceed to maternity leave. Now for female employees, maternity leave, Republic Act 7322 and further amended by Republic Act 8282. Republic Act 11210. Okay. The existing mandatory law for maternity leave, or the enhanced or expanded maternity leave, okay, law. Now, what is this maternity leave? A female member who has paid at least 3 monthly contributions in the 12-month period immediately preceding the semester of her childbirth or miscarriage shall be paid a daily maternity benefit equivalent to 100% of her average daily salary, credit for 60 days or 78 days in case of cesarean delivery. In maternity leave, 60 days in a normal delivery and 78 days in case of cesarean delivery. So the qualifications for entitlement of maternity leave are: the female member should be an SSS member, employed at the time of delivery, miscarriage, or abortion. She must have given the required notification to the Social Security system through her employer, and the female member must have paid at least 3 months of maternity contributions in the 12-month period immediately before the semester of her childbirth or miscarriage. Every pregnant woman is entitled to maternity leave benefits regardless of her civil status, whether married or unmarried. So, yun yung diniscuss natin kanina compared in paternity leave. Because in paternity leave, you need to be married for you to avail the paternity leave under Republic Act 8187, compared in Republic Act 8282 as amended by Republic Act 11210, which is the maternity leave. No, the pregnant woman need not be married. Okay, the civil status is immaterial in availing maternity leave for the woman. Now, the conditions to avail the maternity leave under RA 11210, that the female employee should have notified her employer to the probable date of her delivery. No, she must have notified her employer of her pregnancy and the probable date of her childbirth, and the same is to be transmitted to the Social Security system in accordance with the rules and regulations it may provide. The full payment shall be advanced. The full payment shall be advanced by the employer within 30 days upon filing of the notice of maternity leave application, and the payments of daily maternity leaves shall be a bar to the recovery of sickness benefits provided by this act for the same period from which daily maternity benefits ever have been received. And the maternity benefits provided under this law shall be paid only for the first 4 deliveries of the female employee. The SSS shall immediately reimburse the employer of 100% of the amount of maternity benefits advanced to the employee by the employer upon receipt of satisfactory proof of such payment and legality thereon. And if an employee member should give birth or suffer miscarriage without the required contributions having been remitted for her by her employer to the SSS, the employer shall pay to the SSS the amount equivalent to what the SSS gave to the employee should the employer reported the payments that the employee would otherwise entitled thereto. So that is the conditions in the availment of maternity leave. Now, the maternity leave is not only applicable to the female private employees, because under the Magna Carta of Women, all females, government employees, government female employees are also entitled to maternity leave. It's not limited only to, or it's not exclusive to private employees. Now, because of this Magna Carta of Women, women in the military, police, and other services shall be entitled to leave benefits such as maternity leave as provided for by existing Republic Act 9710, Section 15. It is not necessary that a woman be impregnated by her legitimate spouse. It is material who the father is. Every pregnant woman in the private sector, whether married or unmarried, is entitled to the maternity leave benefits. Being an unmarried woman is not an obstacle for the grant of such benefits to the less fortunate. Please take note also, andyan na yung pin ko. Akala ko yung pin ko. Okay, let's continue. Now, the Republic Act 11210, or for you to easier memorize, Republic Act 11210, expanded maternity leave law. There are changes made with the previous maternity leave, which is it covers female government employees. All covered female workers in government and the private sector, including those in the informal economy regardless of civil status or the legitimacy of her children, shall be paid a daily maternity benefit equivalent to 100% of her average daily salary. Credit for 105 days for childbirth, whether normal or cesarean delivery, or 60 days for miscarriage or emergency termination, with an option to extend for an additional 30 days without pay, provided that in the case of workers qualifies as a solo parent under the Solo Parents Welfare Act, the worker shall be granted an additional 15 days maternity leave with full pay. Maternity leave shall be granted to female workers in every instance of pregnancy, miscarriage, or emergency termination of pregnancy, regardless of frequency. Maternity leave shall be granted to female workers in every instance of pregnancy, miscarriage, or emergency termination of pregnancy, regardless of frequency. So nabanggit natin ang Solo Parent Act. So we will then discuss the Solo Parent Act. So nabanggit naman na natin ang Solo Parent Welfare Act. then we will proceed to Solo Parents Welfare Act or Republic Act 8972. Ang question lang naman sa RA 8972 is, who is a solo parent? Yan naman ang pinag-aawayan sa Facebook. Who is a solo parent? Are you a solo parent? But other than that, under the Solo Parent Welfare Act or Republic Act 8972, there is a parental leave for solo parent aside from paternity leave and maternity leave. So under this Republic Act 8972 or the Solo Parent Welfare Act, there is also a solo parent leave. Parental leave shall mean leave benefits granted to a solo parent to enable him or her to perform parental duties and responsibilities where physical presence is required. Yon yung parental leave under Solo Parent Welfare Act. Now, for purposes of this Republic Act 8972, we have to define what is or who is a solo parent. Solo parent. A solo parent may be a victim or a woman who gives birth as a result of rape or a crime against chastity, even without a final conviction of the offender, provided that the mother rears or keeps and raises the child. Then she is a solo parent. Parents left solo or alone with the responsibility of parenthood due to death of spouse. Naturalmente, magiging solo parent ka due to the death of your spouse. Parent left solo with responsibility of parenthood while the spouse is detained or is serving sentence for criminal offense for at least 1 year. Parent left solo with responsibilities of parenthood due to physical and or mental incapacity of spouse as certified by a public medical practitioner. Parent left solo or alone with responsibilities of parenthood due to the legal separation or de facto separation from spouse for at least 1 year as long as he or she is with the custody of the child. The same is true with parent left solo alone with responsibilities of parenthood due to the nullity of his or her marriage to the other or to his or her former spouse. Parent left solo or alone with responsibilities of parenthood due to abandonment of spouse or due to the abandonment of spouse for 1 year. Unmarried mother, father who has preferred to keep and rear his children instead of having others care for them or give them up to a welfare institution. And of course, any other person who solely provides parental care and support to a child or children, provided he or she is a duly appointed guardian by the court or she is duly licensed as a foster parent by the Department of Social and Welfare Development. And of course, any family member who assumes the responsibility as a head of the family as a result of death, abandonment, disappearance, or prolonged absence of the parents are solo parent. So they are considered solo parent under Republic Act 8972. So even though hindi mo anak yon, you can be a solo parent. Kahit hindi pa kayo hiwalay legally ng asawa mo, you can be a solo parent. Kapag binantayan mo and you are a duly licensed foster by the DSWD, or you are appointed guardian by a court, by a competent court, you can be a solo parent. So, mas maraming grounds para maging solo parent. So, those are the categories that you can claim as a solo parent. It's not necessary that you are the biological mother or father of the child. Provided, it is enough that you are left solo, alone, with the responsibility of parenthood, okay, to the child. That is the Solo Parent Welfare Act. Please take note that a change in the status or circumstances of the parent claiming benefits under this Solo Parent Welfare Act, such that he or she is no longer left alone with the responsibility of parenthood. Okay, it shall terminate his or her eligibility to these benefits. Okay, changes of the circumstances, it will terminate his her eligibility of the benefits under Republic Act 8972, otherwise known as the Solo Parent Welfare Act. So, may tanong po ni Miss Abigail Corpus, kung nire-renew ba yung ID ng solo parent? Yes, nire-renew. Why? Because there is a forfeiture of benefits if there are circumstances that would change your status as a solo parent. For example, the absent solo parent appears, no? So, hindi ka na magiging solo because you are no longer left alone or solo with the responsibilities of parenthood. Now, what are the conditions, no, for entitlement for the parental leave? The solo parent must render at least 1 year service, whether continuous or broken. The solo parent must notify the employer of the availment thereof within a reasonable period of time. The solo parent must present his solo identification card, yan yung ID na nire-renew, to the employer. The same is true with the parental leave and the maternity leave. The parental leave under the Solo Parents Welfare Act is not also convertible to cash. Cannot be converted into cash. In the event that the parental leave is not availed of, cannot be convertible to cash. That's the general rule. Because exemption is if you did not avail the parental leave under the Solo Parent Welfare Act, you can convert it to cash provided it is previously agreed upon by you and the employer. However, if said leave were denied an employee as a result of non-compliance with the provisions of these rules by an employer, the aforementioned leave may be used as a basis for damages. Crediting of existing leave, if there is an existing or similar benefit under a company policy or collective bargaining agreement, the same shall be credited as such in the same, or if the same is greater than 7 days, the greater shall prevail. Just like with the paternity leave and the maternity leave. Kung saan yung mas mataas, doon, yun ang prevailing in crediting of existing leave. Under the Solo Parent Welfare Act also, there are also benefits being enjoyed by solo parents, such as the flexible working schedule, educational benefits, medical assistance, and housing benefits. Yun yung mga benefits of a solo parent under this Republic Act 8972. So, nakatatlo na tayo. We have the paternity leave, we have the maternity leave, we have the Solo Parent Welfare Act. Now, let's proceed to Anti-Sexual Harassment Act or Republic Act 7877. Ano ba tong sexual harassment? What is the declaration of state policy relative to sexual harassment? The state shall value the dignity of every individual, uphold the dignity of workers, employees, applicants for employment, students, or those undergoing training, instructions, or education. Enhance the development its human resources and guarantee full respect of human rights. All forms of sexual harassment in the employment, education, or training environment are hereby declared unlawful. Who may commit sexual harassment? Number 1, teachers. Number 2, instructors, professors, employers. Employee also may commit sexual harassment. Manager, agent of the employer, coach, trainer, supervisor, or any other person who have authority, ascendancy, influence over another person. Aim. Yun yung sinasabi nating aim, no? Any person who having authority, moral ascendancy, and influence. Authority, influence, and moral ascendancy over another person can commit sexual harassment. Or any other person who directs or induces another to commit any act or sexual. Any person who directs or induces another to commit any act of sexual harassment as herein defined by the Harassment Act, or any person who cooperate in the commission thereof by another without which it would not have been committed shall also be held liable under this act. The second paragraph there speaks of conspiracy to commit the same, who cooperates in the commission thereof by another, without which it would not have been committed. So he is indispensable in committing the acts of sexual harassment. He is also liable therein. Now, what is the gravamen of the offense is that the gravamen of the offense is sexual harassment. It's not the violation of the employee's sexuality. Sexual harassment is not the violation of the employee's sexuality, but the abuse of power of the employer. Any employee, male or female, may rightfully cry foul, provided that the claim is well substantiated. No, the power is the gravamen in the offense of sexual harassment. Now, when sexual harassment punishable? When can sexual harassment punishable? When it is work-related, education-related, and training-related. How it is committed? So how sexual harassment is being committed? No? It is committed by demands, requests, or otherwise requires any sexual favor from the other, regardless of whether or not the demand, request, or requirement for submission is accepted by the object of the act. Please take note that it is not necessary that the demand, request, or requirement of a sexual favor be articulated in oral or in writing or written statement. No? It may be discerned with equal certitude from the acts of the offender. It is enough that the respondent's acts result in creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the employee. That is the case of Domingo versus Rayala. So in a work-related environment, work-related or employment environment, sexual harassment is committed when the sexual favor is made as a condition in the hiring or in the employment, re-employment, or continued employment of said individual, in granting said individual favorable compensation, terms and condition, promotions and privileges, or the refusal to grant the sexual favor results in limiting, segregating, or classifying the employee which would in any way discriminate, deprive, or diminish employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect said employee. Now, the above acts would impair the employee's right and privilege under existing labor laws, and the above acts would result in an intimidating, hostile, offensive environment for the employee. So those are the acts that would constitute sexual harassment in a work-related or employment environment. In an education or training environment, sexual harassment may be committed against one who is under the care, custody, or supervision of the offender, against one whose education, training, apprenticeship, or tutorship is entrusted to the offender. When the sexual favor is made a condition to the giving of a passing grade or the granting of honors and scholarships, or the payment of a stipend, allowance, or other benefits, privileges, or considerations, and when the sexual advances result in an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the result, and as a result, the trainee or apprentice. Please take note that any person who directs or induces another or cooperates in the commission of sexual harassment, without which it would have not been consummated or committed, shall also be held liable under Republic Act 7877. So that is sexual harassment, and who can commit, who may commit, and how it is being committed. Sexual harassment. That ends our topic under the social legislation, the paternity leave, maternity leave, and the Solo Parent Welfare Act, and also it includes sexual harassment. For the next video, we will discuss employment of minors, employment of house helpers, employment of home workers, employment of night workers. We will no longer discuss the expanded senior citizens. And so that's it. We will end it on the house helper act. And that is for social legislation. If you wish to for you to be always updated, para lagi kayong updated sa ating discussion about laws and orders, please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the click the bell button para lagi kayong updated sa ating uploads. For the next video, we will be discussing already the civil code of the Philippines, or the family code pala, no? The family code of the Philippines. Pag-uusapan natin dito the legitimacy of the child, rightful custody over the child, filiation, paternity, no? Who has the rightful custody over a minor child? Is it the mother or is it the father? Filiation of the child. For example, ang pag-uusapan natin si Eva, pinatay yung asawa, pinatay nung January 1, 2019, na sinatgan yung asawa ni Eva, namatay yung asawa ni Eva. Okay? January 1. After 3 months, nag-asawa ngayon si Eva dahil kailangan din niya ng makakatuwang sa buhay. After 7 months of Eva's second marriage, nanganak siya. Ngayon, hindi niya alam kung sino ang ama nung anak niya. Is it either sa patay na niyang asawa or sa bago niyang kinakasama ngayon. So, yun ang mga pag-uusapan natin. Paano mo i-determine yan kung hindi alam mismo ng nanay kung sino ang tatay ng bata? Nangyayari yan sa totoong buhay. Kaya magkakumpare,